Greetings all from Culture Cult. Please sit back and enjoy Chapter 3 of The Shadows of Gastown. If you haven't watched Chapters 1 and 2, please do so before you proceed with this chapter. Weeks passed, and the saloon thrived, but Jack's sense of unease began to grow again. The globe had become a beacon of prosperity in Gastown, but the strange occurrences that had plagued its early days started to reappear. Not just within the saloon, but in Jack's own home. At first it was subtle objects moving on their own, the temperature dropping suddenly, and an overwhelming sense that he was being watched. Then, as the nights grew longer, the disturbances became more intense. One night, Jack awoke to the sound of heavy footsteps echoing through his house. The floorboards creaked under an unseen weight, and a cold wind swept through the room, despite the windows being firmly shut. When he rose to investigate, he found nothing. No sign of an intruder, no explanation for the icy chill in the air. But as he turned to return to his bed, he saw it. A new carving on the wall, more intricate and menacing than any that had appeared before. The symbol was unmistakable. It was the mark of Ahanu, the chief of the spirits, a being of immense power and deep resentment. Jack had heard whispers of Ahanu's existence from Tla'amin, but the shaman had believed that the ceremony had appeased the spirits. Now, it was clear that Ahanu was not satisfied with the offering. The land that Jack had claimed had belonged to the spirits since time immemorial, and Ahanu demanded more. The following evening, as Jack sat in the globe, the disturbances grew even more pronounced. Glasses shattered on their own. The fire roared uncontrollably before dying down to embers, and a dense fog seeped through the cracks in the walls, filling the room with a suffocating sense of dread. The patrons, once comfortable in Jack's saloon, fled in terror, leaving him alone with the spirits that had once again taken hold of the place. Sin. Desperate, Jack sought out Tla'amin, who met him at the edge of the forest, his face grave. Ahanu is not like the other spirits, the shaman warned. He is the oldest, the most powerful. He will not be easily appeased. The land you occupy is sacred, and to earn it, you must prove your worth. The ceremony was not enough. Ahanu demands a greater sacrifice. Jack's heart sank at the words. He had already given so much, his time, his energy, his very soul, to build the globe. But the land had a deeper history, one that Jack could not fully grasp, and Ahanu would not rest until the balance was restored. "What does he want?" Jack asked, though he feared the answer. Tla'amin was silent for a long moment before replying. "Ahanu does not seek blood, but he seeks a part of you, something precious, something that binds you to this land. You must find what it is and offer it willingly, or Ahanu will take it by force." Jack returned to his home, his mind racing. What could he offer that would satisfy a spirit like Ahanu? He thought of his possessions, his wealth, but none of it seemed significant enough. Then his eyes fell on a small, worn book that he had carried with him from England. A journal, filled with memories, sketches, and dreams of a life he surrendered. It was his connection to the past, to the family he had left behind, and to the dreams that had driven him to this distant land. It was the only thing that truly mattered to him, the only piece of his soul that still tied him to the old world. He knew, deep down, that this was what Ahanu wanted. To sever that tie would mean giving up the last vestige of the life he had known, fully committing himself to the land he now called home. That night, Jack returned to the globe, the journal clutched tightly in his hands. The saloon was empty, the air thick with the presence of Ahanu. Jack stood before the fire, feeling the weight of the spirit's gaze upon him. With a deep breath, he opened the journal one last time, letting his fingers trace the faded ink of the sketches and words that had once guided him. Then, with a solemn heart, he placed the journal into the fire. The flames hesitated, as if uncertain whether to consume such a precious offering, but then they roared to life, engulfing the pages in a blaze of light. The fire burned hotter and brighter than ever before, casting long shadows that danced on the walls. As the journal turned to ash, the fog lifted, and the oppressive weight that had hung over the globe in Jack's home began to dissipate. The carvings on the walls softened, losing their menacing edge, and the air grew warmer, more inviting. Jack felt a strange peace settle over him, as if a burden he had carried for years had finally been lifted. In the silence that followed, Jack heard a voice, a low rumbling whisper that echoed through the room. It was Ahanu, speaking not in anger, but in acknowledgement. The spirit accepted Jack's sacrifice, understanding that he had given up something irreplaceable to earn his place in the land. The disturbances ceased from that night on. The globe flourished, not just as a saloon, but as a place of respect and understanding, where the land's history was honored and its spirits revered. Jack, though he had lost the last connection to his old life, found a new sense of belonging in Gastown. He had earned his place, not through force or charm, but through a sacrifice that showed his true commitment to the land and its ancient guardians. And so, in the heart of Vancouver, where the cobblestone streets echoed with the footsteps of history, the globe stood as a testament to the bond between man and spirit, a bond that had been forged in fire and sacrifice, and that would endure for generations to come. Thank you for listening, and stay tuned for Chapter 4 soon. Until then, be merry.